So here we are looking at a profile. Perhaps I was able to log in. Maybe I'm a system administrator, and being a system administrator, perhaps I can navigate to an admin profile, right? Maybe where I'm allowed to administer maybe a list of users, right? So let's take a look at that. Notice that we had already started to implement a couple of things in the on the client side that were accessing remote servers, right? Trying to remote use the this communication with the server. Now notice where we're doing this fetch. See that? This fetch we're doing it right inside of the login function, right? If you remember, we said that was a no-no, right? That was but there's a design pattern for this. A much better implementation is to encapsulate any data access, right? To encapsulate it in a service, a dedicated service. In this case, this service, this request that we're doing here is specific for users, right? We like to be able to log in or register or log out. All these are client, or user related services, right? So what we're going to do is that we had already created a directory called services where we had data access for related to courses, getting courses, modules, lessons, and whatnot. Here we're going to create another service, TypeScript, and we'll call it the user service, service.ts. Yes, and this service, right, is going to be we're going to export it. It's going to be a class. It's going to be called user service, and it's going to have functions such as login, right, and it's going to have a username, and password, and it's going to have this fetch right here. So I'm going to grab that, I'm going to copy that, I'm going to move it over to this login over here. Okay, it's going to go do the fetch. It's going to return the promise with the username, right? And instead of this, right, it's going to be the parameter username and the parameter password. There we go. Okay, once we have that, we need to make sure that this is injectable. Okay, and we need to register it in the app module, right, as a provider, the user service. There it is. Okay. Once we have that, we can go back to our login and re-implement this using now a better pattern. Right? We're going to ask in the constructor, we're going to ask for the service to be injected, right, so that we can use it. So this is going to be private user service of type user service. There it is. Once we have that, we can use this instead of using this fetch, which was a bad idea. We're going to say this dot user service dot login, and we'll pass in this dot username and this dot password. Okay, and it's complaining. Maybe we forgot to return. Yeah, we never return, so return that. There we go. There we go. So this should work identical to what we had earlier, right? Okay. Other things that you might have in this service are things such as, what else would you have here? You would have maybe logout would be here. Okay. Maybe register would be here. Yes. Maybe if you're a system administrator, you would have maybe find all users would be here. Okay. Maybe again, if you're a system administrator, you might have delete user, or maybe again as a system administrator, you might have you'd be able to create users. All the CRUD operations you might think of, right, from that have to deal with users, right? We're dealing with everything with the user. So let's take a look at find all users. So find all user might be something like return fetch HTTP :// localhost 4000 / users, right? And this is going to parse the response as a JSON, right? And where will we render this? probably would render it in a component that would render the list of users, right? So for instance, if I'm a system administrator, right, in the system administrator, as a system administrator, perhaps I might have a link, a hyperlink in here that might allow me to navigate to a users or admin users, admin users, right? So users, and if I click on that on my profile, oops, where is it? If I click on users, I would navigate to a list of users, right? So let's implement a component like that. Let's create here another component. We say, let's see, tab, where are we? Are we in the right place? Yeah, we'll say ng generate a new component, and we'll call it admin user, administrate users. All right, so I created that admin users, and I'd like to be able to do is that if I navigate to admin users, I'm going to map this right in my router. Where's my router? Here's my router. If I see in the URL admin users, I'm going to show the component admin users component. There it is. Which right now probably is not very interesting. Right, so if I go and show this profile, I click on users, it navigates to admin users works. Right, it's not very interesting. So let's use this, right, to render a list of users. You know, me being a system administrator, that I should be able to create, remove, update, and manipulate all sorts of users. So let's take a look at that.